Hey guys, thanks for joining another episode of Rare Coin TV.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, this one's going to be on
the Draped Bust Large Cent.
That's right. You know, recently we did a show on large cents covering it's kind of a wide array of topics regarding the large cent, covered different guys who produced them, different ranges and designs. Ryan's been having some interaction recently on Twitter because of Saturday Night Coin Show. Is it Numismatic Nation or who's the guy?
Numismatic Nation is more in the foreign part of it, okay. But he is going to be joining a large cent segment on Saturday Night Coin Show from Coins of the World.
Oh, awesome.
So you did see that correctly. Arrowhead Broken had CW Coins and Bullets is another screen name on Twitter of his. Whatever, one and the other. One's a handle, one's a screen name or whatever.
So Ryan and him are going back and forth trying to kind of almost divvy out different areas of the large cents.
Yeah, it was his idea. He basically said, why don't we collaborate? Me, you, Coins for Amateurs, and anybody else that wants to jump in.
Super cool.
We're going to do collaborative content. It's the first time that we've ever done this. Basically what had happened is we divvied up all these different areas, and the Draped Bust Cent is something that we hadn't really spent a lot of time covering in the past specifically. We kind of mentioned it in passing. So we thought, why don't we just focus on it today and talk a little bit about some of the rarities in the series, the designer, maybe some of the more important parts of what the Draped Bust Large Cent is.
Absolutely, and there's a few in particular that we're going to try and focus on, but there are 2 or 3 different dates that really stand out within the series of being some really tremendous opportunity and some rarities.
Right. I think we have to start with the Liherty.
Oh,
and I did not stutter. Liherty. Liherty.
And really what it is, it's a B with an inverse struck B on top of it. So when you look at it, it's almost like there's 2 B's stacked on top, one upside down, which gives the appearance of an H.
It looks like an H to me when I look at it.
It does, and we'll put a little picture of it up on screen, kind of zoomed in. That way you guys can really get a good eye appeal. Tell us what you think. If you think it looks more like an H or if it looks like 2 B's stamped on top of each other.
Hashtag Team H or hashtag Team B. Which team are you on?
Team H or Team B, yeah, seriously. So that one's kind of fun. Very rare coin. Very few examples of that even exist.
Right. It's kind of interesting to me how these early engravers and even through the mid 19th century, they would make a mistake and then just cover the mistake instead of making a new die. I think it's because maybe money was scarce. We were a newer nation. We did not have the California gold rush to bless us with tremendous wealth.
They couldn't waste a planchet.
Right.
Every single planchet evidently meant something because they were striking dates and they were striking numbers and letters on top of one another to not waste.
That's one cool coin within the series. Probably the most famous at the moment is the 1799 large cent because of its auction record at $977,000, which was a coin that tells a tremendous story. Basically, none of the 1799 large cent had been found in mint state condition until the early 1900s. And the funny thing is, they had been collected since the 1850s and 60s when the United States switched over from the large cent to the smaller cents, the Flying Eagle cent.
They had a really hard time finding those large cents.
And this tied into what one of our Twitter followers asked us. It was Ultra High Relief, said, what happens to coins when they go obsolete? What happens to the previous design? And that's exactly what happened in this case.
It did.
When the small cents came around, the Flying Eagle cent, people immediately started collecting large cents, and that the design change was in 1857. And what ended up happening is, back in the 1850s and 60s, the 1799 got so popular that it became not collectible anymore. It was not affordable for people that were building sets of them.
Even back then, You know, and the one coin of mint state that did survive, it's not like it's stuck around in high grade. It's a mint state 61 brown, so it's kind of on the low end of the mint state condition that barely squeaked in there. And I mean, I think even David Hall, you know, isn't he the one that said it's one of the most important rarities of the large scent?
He said it is the most, something to the effect of it's the most important large scent. And David Hall's somebody that we should all listen to. He's one of the most prolific minds in coins of the last several decades.
Former president of the PCGS, you know, one of the most, again, prolific.
Invented PCGS.
Come on, man.
He was one of the founders. And he's written a ton of books. He's a visionary. He's somebody that we could all learn from. So when somebody like that makes a statement that strong, I think it's something to really consider. And to back it up, the Mint State 61 sold at auction for $977,000 with a who's who pedigree list. I would say most notably Dr. Sheldon, who invented the grading scale.
Yeah, the guy literally put together the scale that we all use today, the 1 to 70 scale. Now, when he originally conceptualized it, I think it was a little bit different than the way we use it today.
It was conceptualized as a value scale.
Exactly.
First, and a condition scale second.
Right.
In other words, 70 was 70 times the value
of a one.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting. I mean, and that's something that maybe we'll explore in detail as far as how that changed and when that changed. That's another topic I would love to cover personally.
Yeah, exactly. So that $17.99 is an absolute monster, and we'll just call it the king of large cents. I know some have sold for more.
I'm comfortable saying that as well. And you guys may argue that with us. If you think there's other coins that deserve that title and that crown, again, leave a comment. We'd love to get some feedback.
Maybe the flowing hair, maybe the capped bust.
Sure.
I mean, there's definitely some winners.
But overall significance. Overall, I think that the $17.99 checks off all the boxes. It's from the 18th century. It is a Robert Scott design.
Robert Scott one of the millions of Robert Scott designs, by the way.
So again, man, it really is checking off all the boxes. I love the coin. Ryan loves the coin. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, for early coinage, let's just take a moment on Robert Scott. He designed most of the Draped bust coinage in copper and silver. It was the half cent, the cent, the quarter, the half dollar, and the dollar.
Yeah.
All of the Draped bust designers was Robert Scott. We could take a week or weeks and do a show every single day on a Robert Scott design.
Maybe one day.
Maybe we do Robert Scott week.
Yeah.
I'd be open to it in 2019. So the guy is just, I mean, he's
the guy's America written all over him. So I mean, why not?
Pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And interestingly, he was appointed personally by George Washington to be a mint engraver under David Rittenhouse,
really?
The first director of the mint.
Oh, let's explore that. Yeah, we've got to explore that. The relationship between George Washington and Robert Scott, we are definitely going to explore that more.
He's practically the stars and the stripes on the flag. I mean...
So when we do the reenactment, who should be George Washington and who should be Robert Scott? I kind of want to be George, but we may have to fight over that one.
I don't think George had a beard, bro.
Oh. Ooh.
So I think what you gonna do with that?
I think you're right. Okay. Well, we'll see. We'll see how this works out.
And then there's one more cool coin in the large cent Draped bust series, and that is the 1820 restrike, which featured an obverse from 1804 and a reverse from 1820. Now this
mashup,
that doesn't happen too often.
No.
I mean, I can think of a few coins where people did later restrike coins, like the CSA half dollar,
the King of Siam proof set.
So, I mean, it did happen at times. It happened very seldom by a private issuer like that.
Yeah.
So it tells a totally cool story. I mean, 1804 on one side for the obverse, 1820 on the reverse, and that gap. I mean, a 16-year gap. I can't think of a single other coin that includes a 16-year gap between the obverse and the reverse, or even close. I mean, sometimes you add one that's a few off, such as Morgan dollars with the 1880s coinage and the reverse of 78 and
No,
79.
not even close to them, man.
Not 16 years though.
No, not even close.
So, super interesting.
If you guys
coin.
know of one, and there may be some world coins, ancient coins, foreign coins that have that characteristic there. But
I mean, the Fujio cents, the CFA half dollars.
Right.
I said CFA because my mind's on coins for amateurs, but CSA, I know what it is. It's the it's the Confederate States half dollar. There was a restrike years later. There's a bunch. I don't think we need to go too deep into that, but why don't you guys look around for all the coins that were restruck later years, list them in the comments section, and then we'll blow you up on our social channels for everybody that puts an answer down. So I think that's kind of the most important points. We can kind of wrap it up there.
I think so too.
But it's so crazy. I've never been into large cents. I almost used to like make fun of people that were into them because they don't have a ton of value and they just weren't that interesting to me. The crazy thing is, the more we study them, I'm super enthusiastic. I kind of want to start buying them now.
I know.
So, all right, well, thanks for joining us this week. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and make sure to smash the like button and subscribe here on YouTube. We'd really appreciate the support.
absolutely. See you guys next time.
All right, see ya.